Some of us are born into poverty, and the reason for government assistance was because,
Let's look at another liar who lies about Section 8 housing and lies about women and mothers. In this particular case, this lady lies about victimhood of black families. This lady's whining and crying that Section 8 housing, Trump's going to order people to only be on Section 8 housing for 2 years. Think about what a blankety blank, low Q, unintelligent weirdo this lady is. She's crying that in 2 years you have to get out of free housing that's provided by taxpayers. Here's the thing. She's sitting there saying about the disadvantages of black folks coming out of slavery and stuff like that. Emancipation was what, 160 years ago? And then, of course, they created laws. They created a whole bunch of laws so that black people go to jail and they could turn around and put them back on the plantation. But guess what happened closer to the 1900s, or around 1900? Black families were intact. All the way up to the civil rights movement, 80% of kids, almost 80% of kids, no, 80% of kids were born into a married black family. And black family home ownership and employment was at all-time highs then. Black families were more intact than white families for a couple of those decades. So this lady is lying, and she's stupid, and I'm being extremely nice because this is a subhuman monster, because she wants women to keep spitting out babies solely so that the mother can live for free on Section 8 housing. That's the vast majority of purpose of Section 8 housing. Up here in Washington, Northwest Justice Project helps people who are dealing with housing. They first rush to illegal immigrants and make sure that they got housing if they're getting kicked out, and defend tenants in landlord-tenant acts. I gave you guys a story of how I dated a chick. I was a dumbass for dating a chick who played damsel in distress. She really was a passive-aggressive narcissist abuser of her children, an abuser of the system, been on welfare way longer than what I had heard, and she was gaming the system. She was wreaking havoc. She was terrorizing her neighbors. Her dog bit somebody else's dog. When the landlord served her eviction notices, she sicked her German Shepherd on the process server. I had to get a domestic violence protection order against this chick. She sicked her dog on my process server. These are the type of psycho. Now take a look at this woman who posted this. Does she look like someone who's going to attract a high-value man? It's women like this who look like that, who can't get a normal man, that'll get some thirsty dude or some drunk dude one night, pump out a kid, never let that dad know that that's their kid, or push the dad out, and force the child to live without a father. Now look at this. There's a 95% chance you will never be in poverty if you have kids after you're married and you have a high school diploma. You graduate from high school, you get married, and then you have kids. You have kids before marriage, out of wedlock, broken family, automatically the risk goes up. So this lady is saying because of slavery and because of oppression and things like that, that black families are living in the curse of poverty and they're never going to get out of it. The choice of who you hump before and after you get married will dictate that. How come you can't keep your legs together? Sex Addict 304. Women out here just lying, taking advantage of the system, of people, of men. And then you got somebody who only has a few brain cells firing, saying some stupid crap like that. Victim, 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 victim. I'm a victim, victim, victim. She sounds like a bunch of father's rights movement groups. Now, the system is corrupt. The system is, screws dads over. You're never going to get the system be perfectly fair and perfectly equitable and righteous. So what you got to do is you got to fight against injustices. There's going to be people who are getting screwed and people who are forced into poverty to some point, but the vast majority of people who are living poor did it by their own choice. Everybody I know that had a family where they stuck together and they were married, and both parents, especially nowadays, both parents work. They're doing well. Just about everybody I know. When they first had kids, they did it after marriage. Or even some people I know who had a kid, made a mistake, they got married, they're sticking together, they're having kids the right way. Those families have an extremely high success rate for them. Their kids grow up and they're successful and they're independent and doing their things on their own and not on the street. They don't need handouts or welfare. Now, it's tough nowadays with inflation and how crazy things are. But the more you stick together and stick to traditional family values, the better off you are. But women will go have kids and spit out kids just to get on welfare. So they'll go get with a thirsty dude, especially somebody, I mean, the vast majority of women that I know that are on welfare aren't good looking, don't look like they can get a decent man. And so they're desperate. They get with thirsty dudes, they get high with dudes, they get, or they're with some pathetic loser of a dude. And they have normalized this mentality in this culture. And just think about it. Think about if somebody came knocking at your door and said, hey, these people down here are poor. They won't get a job. They won't go to school. They won't learn a trade. They want you to pay for their house. That's literally what's going on, actually. They're just not knocking at your door and asking for you to hand over the money. The government's taking it. The fact that this PHAT ugly 304 is sitting there saying women should continue to spit out kids and get in. That's the vast majority. Unless you can prove me wrong, the vast majority of Section 8 housing recipients are single moms. How did they become single moms? They screwed some knuckleheaded dude. I know women have got 4, 5, 6 kids and aren't married to any of the dads. Didn't even try to get married to any of the dads. And they're poor because of it. Because they chose to get on welfare and just stay there. And didn't do anything to better themselves. And this lady is saying it's directly and solely because of slavery. That's utter bullcrap, because black people did very well. And it's actually, right out of slavery, there was a 0% literacy rate for the most part, with black folks. After one generation, black folks had a 50% literacy rate. And linguists say that's a modern miracle. Black folks actually excelled given the circumstances. And then, again, you saw stuff like Black Wall Street, infrastructure like that popping up. There's dozens of those across the country. There wasn't just the Oklahoma one that got, basically blown up. What happened was white supremacists, during the civil rights movement, 80% of kids were born into married families. And black home ownership, and employment was at an all-time high then. And again, 80% of black kids were born into a married family. Now, 75% of kids don't have a father in the home. And in any race or culture, if you don't have a father in the home, they're 10, 20 times more likely your kid's going to end up in poverty. So she's sitting there saying, there's a cycle we're trying to break the curse. No, you're not. You keep popping out kids. You sex addicted nympho 304. It's your problem. Stop having kids before you're married. Now, I made a mistake. I was a stupid jackass who had a kid with a crazy woman, but I can call it that. This lady's playing victim. They should eliminate welfare suddenly. They should give everybody a 3-month notice. Everybody gets off of welfare, maybe 6 months. Everybody off of welfare and totally eliminate it. When they did Newt Gingrich did the deal in the 90s with Bill Clinton, they gave women a year or something, and then they would just keep getting new kids or more kids. Welfare should be eliminated. Let the churches and volunteer groups help out the poor single moms or whatever. We'll eliminate, or just give custody to dads. We'll eliminate and fix the curse immediately.